you touched on economic engine, and now the Think Big and Kevin Johnson, they seem to be focusing on the rail yards. And just a few months ago, we had multiple arena plans, and each of them had their own sort of proposed location. We had the Natomas one, a Cal Expo plan. We had a waterfront one. And now we're sort of coalescing on the rail yard. So I wanted to go out there and get a lay of the land. So I met up with Councilman Rob Fong, who graciously allowed to meet me there. So let's take a look at the video. I'm here with Councilman Rob Fong, and we're taking a look at the rail yard sites. What's going on here? What do we see?
We see a lot of excavation happening, and so all of the work that's being done right now is, you can see in the background, the overpass is getting constructed. So we're starting to do a little infrastructure work there to kind of connect the streets here.
And this is where Think Big Sacramento hopes to eventually build a arena or entertainment and sports complex.
That's right.
Whereabouts sort of in this? Can we see it now?
Boy, you're asking a guy who can't read a map. It's out there somewhere, Ed.
All right, so out there somewhere,
That's right.
We hope to build
on the other side of this fence, somewhere. That's right.
Give me sort of the broad numbers of the plan. How much will it cost to build an arena here?
You know, according to the Taylor Icon Group, they're saying that it's going to cost $387 million. So that's certainly, you know, a ballpark figure. So we're sort of using that for a benchmark right now.
Okay. And the arena would be slightly larger than Power Balance Pavilion now, but not too much larger?
Right. I think it's just going to be configured a lot differently and sort of be more state-of-the-art in terms of what the NBA and others are looking for these days.
During this process, we heard proposals about a lot of different sites. Why did we ultimately focus on the rail yards, and what's the advantages there?
We've been talking about an arena in the rail yards for a little while now, and I think that that's where I think the region would see this as a regional sort of facility here in the rail yard, given that the intermodal is going to be here. It's the #1 transportation project in the region, so sort of a big connectivity piece.
With the economy that we're in right now, how reasonable is it to expect that the retail opportunities near this new arena will happen on the same timetable?
You know, it's hard to predict that. I think that we've got to start with something, and I think that if you look at the rail yard site, I mean, one of the things that's probably going to have to happen is there are going to have to be some anchor projects that go in first. We know we're going to get a courthouse for sure. We know we're doing the intermodal for sure. So those are really good starts.
What's the timetable? When do you hope to be able to begin construction?
People are looking, if we can figure out how to finance it, I think we'd be looking to start that sometime in 2012.
Welcome back. Marcos, you've been out to the rail yards. What do the rail yards offer as an opportunity for the site, or are there drawbacks to putting it there?
Well, it's city-owned land, first of all, so that puts the city in control of it, whereas the Westfield Mall is obviously owned by Westfield, and there's a whole other dynamic of trying to secure a sale, and they talked about that in 2003, and it was a disaster where the mall owners appear to be going along, and then when it came down to attend the city council meeting, all of a sudden the price went way up, and it became a big debacle. Here, the city controls the land, and it's also tied into their interests of developing this parcel, which has been sitting vacant for generations at this point, and all the city's hopes for downtown development are tied up in the rail yard, and to connect it with the intermodal, so the local transportation hub is connected to the arena. So these are all political hopes and wishes that they're hoping to tie together on city-owned land so they can control it. So that's been the driving force to put it there as opposed to someplace else.
It's not about the Kings. It's not about Natomas, and Arco was a great site, a great location. But, at this point, as Sacramento looks forward to its future, that is the motivation and the incentive to do it downtown. The subplot, though, to me, and that I always kind of find fascinating, is if you walked up to, Joe Blow, Sacramento resident on the street, and maybe even a Kings fan and said, have you ever heard of AEG or Live Nation or one of these? I don't think they would know what they are. And to me, it's a huge component. You now have the NBA essentially sponsoring a company. AEG has a near monopoly on arena construction in a lot of pro sports, and definitely the NBA. They are now backing this project, interested in this project, a huge part of this project, in my opinion. And I think you have to maintain their interest. You have to put a financing plan that's viable enough to maintain that interest. And that's that has to happen. It's a deal breaker to me if you don't get that owner operator to make this thing happen. But as it relates to the downtown, is that they want this thing downtown. And so, are there more complications with downtown? Absolutely. Are things like environmental impact reports potentially going to come into play? Yes. But unfortunately, or fortunately, either way you look at it, AEG wants it there. Companies like that want it there. You got to do it there.
It has to be downtown for the fact that Mayor Kevin Johnson's right on this. It's about vibe. There's urban vibe, and you have to capture that, especially when you're talking about a sports and entertainment complex. The key need here is development. It's not a place for the Kings to play. It's not really a need that we have to have said whatever arena. It's development. Sacramento needs to develop itself. And an arena downtown, resting at the location they're talking about, maybe 2 miles away from Yolo County, alongside of the river, just across the water from West Sacramento, where Mayor Cabaldon is developing his city in fine fashion. All of this is synergy. It plays off of each other. And I've told Matt Rexroads, who's a good friend of mine, a county supervisor in Yolo County, who right now is adamant against any type of support or getting something done with the arena. I told Matt I think he's missing the boat on this. Yolo County could develop their side of the water, the river. West Sacramento will. Sacramento will. So you put an arena complex downtown, you bring in other development, you take care of the blight, you paint the town, and you create a private sector gravity magnet vibe that is something other than government. What Sacramento has right now is government jobs, government workers, health care subsidized by government. Where's the private sector? Then you go out to the suburbs and you tell the folks out there on fixed incomes who say, well, why should we at the end of life be supporting something like that downtown? And you ask them, where do you want your kids to live? Where do you want your grandkids to live? Do you want them to move? Because they'll move. Do you want them to stay here, get an education here, be entrepreneurs here, get a job and raise their family here? And lights go on. It's gravity, it's vibe, and that's why it has to be downtown.
Next up, we've talked a lot about leadership. I'm going to give you some scorecards here, and we're going to do a simultaneous reveal. You've got 4 options for rating Mayor Kevin Johnson's performance. Cut, benchwarmer, starter, or all-star. So make your selections, lock it in, and then we'll talk about it. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. What do we got? Ooh,
Okay.
2 starters and an all-star. Sam, tell me why it's an all-star performance.
Anecdotally, I have a hard time getting past the day that I was on a conference call with a lot of media with Kevin Johnson, and it was as he went to New York to the Board of Governors meeting. And what the reason to me that he ends up getting all-star status in this project is because I simply was 100% convinced the team was gone. And it's obviously a far more complex issue than to boil it down to one anecdote. But to see him go to New York, the way I wrote it at the time was that it wasn't a half-court shot, it was a full-court shot. And, and he came back, and it was exciting for me from the community standpoint because people had given up hope. And then, this guy travels east, he goes to talk to the big boys and a lot of very powerful men, and he gets in the room with NBA owners and starts, turning the room. And he didn't just do that and have a grand flash, and it wasn't a flash in the pan. He came back, and he's been diligent and comprehensive about pushing this thing through, and I think it's been pretty impressive.
If Kevin Johnson isn't the mayor, I think the Kings are in Anaheim already. I think he has a relationship with the commissioner. He has his own reputation within the NBA. And I think that this process allowed him to present the best side of himself, of going to make a presentation before people who are very familiar with him and really impressing them, going around the community and marshaling support in the business community to raise sponsorship money that for some reason the Kings couldn't find, but the mayor was able to find. And I was a witness to some of these presentations, and he's very impressive in these situations, and he has an inner optimism that's infectious, and so I think with this process he's been able to utilize his best strengths, and the only reason I haven't said all-star at this point is that we're not at the end of the process. Certainly, I think if he gets to that point and he saves the Kings, that's going to be something that is a lasting legacy. And if he does nothing else, I think people will remember that, certainly.
Yeah, Marcos and I are pretty similar on this. I would say he's a starter and he's my team captain, to add a little bit. Not an all-star yet, because you got to finish the season and put the stats in and grab the championship, or put it through the whole sausage grinder there, which, I'm hopeful and optimistic that he will be an all-star. I've been nothing but pleased with his performance here. The one thing I like about Mayor Kevin Johnson in this topic and this issue is that he is a strong mayor on this topic. There's nobody else in city council who has the weight or the swagger or the ability to handle this issue but Kevin Johnson. So that charter issue of we need a strong mayor in Sacramento, of which I support, controversial. I think this is proof positive that he's a starter, he's a captain, he will be an all-star if it gets done, and politically for him, it is a nugget, a gem for his political future.